welcome to our meeting. Let's talk about Massimo Mazzuco documentary. That is September 11, the new Pearl Harbor. My name is Melissa Martinez, and here in the meeting we have Evelyn Moya Lopez, Wendy Orozco Mejia, Nestor Barrios Morales, and Yesenia Muñoz Rios. Okay, let's begin. Let's start with a question with two simple questions that are how old were you when the attacks took place, and how did you find about it? Well, in my case, I don't remember. I think that I was like 12 years old or something like that. And I knew about this experience with the newspapers, and also in the classroom. And so, Yesenia, how did you how did you
O-
find out? How old were you? And welcome.
Okay, thanks. At this time, I was 4 years old. I don't know that had happened. I was very young.
Okay, now Yesenia. Sorry, Nestor.
Yes, I was like, I think I was 8 years old, and I realized that the Twin Towers were smashed by a plane through the news. I was with my dad watching the news, and that's how I knew about it.
Okay, and now Wendy. I think that you have a short answer.
Yes, and in my case, I was not born. And when I was 9 years old, my mom told me, and the newspaper too.
Okay, got it. And finally, Evelyn.
I was 5 years old. Uh, uh, in a documentary at the school.
Oh, okay. So yes, because we were far away from that direct attack. Okay, now we are going to answer the questions about the guide. And the first question is, could the U.S. Air Force have prevented the attacks? In my opinion, was a yes, because on the documentary shows that present a fact that the U.S. Air Force, where it is the most secure organization in terms of its security, but it was really impossible to don't see. So sorry. The four hijacks that were flying about 1 hour and 30 minutes. So it was really strange. So with a good security, it would be prevented. Okay, now Yesenia.
Okay, thanks. According to Chen, not because Lauren Takeholz located planes on September 11, the military exercise had been struck at the same time. They said that only force planes went on alert to defend the entire northeast, but it was not enough, so they were not ready to defend the country. But this is false. If they could prevent the attack, but if they had been prepared in advance.
Okay, thanks, Yesenia. And now Nestor.
Well, in my opinion, I think that yes, they could have stopped that attack. However, that will entails collateral damage. That means the passenger on that were on board of that plane will suffer the consequences of the Air Force, interrupting on the terrorist plans, right? So I think they knew about it. The tower control guy, based on the documentary I saw, know about the plane taking a different direction than the ones that was set for that flight. So it's a solid yes, but the decision will be really bellic. We'll have, well, I don't know how you guys, uh, I don't know what you think, what will be the best solution for this case. Because, if that attack could, I mean, if that attack would have been stopped, then you won't have the twin towers down, right? But if you, if the Air Force attack on that plane, then all the passengers on that plane will die. So, and
Yeah,
that's the thing. That's something ethic that should be put on analyze. Well, and all the other stuff, and that's it
right.
for.
Yes, yes, you're right, Nestor. Well, now, Wendy.
Okay. In my opinion, that is not. I think that this was already well planned by the terrorists, and although several institutions affirm that it could have been avoided.
Okay, thank you, Wendy. And finally, Evelyn.
I think that the as Air Force could not have prevent the attacks since no one imagined what was happening uh, or the methods uh, that the terrorists will use at the first everyone believed that it was a kidnapping because that have already happened on other occasions. They didn't expect it was suicide attack. They didn't expect that the terrorists would use a small arm to kill the pilots. So when they were served at the airport, they were not given importance to this. With the everything and this thing against them could prevent them from the other two planes that were destined to crash didn't crash in the place they expect.
Oh, yes. Okay, Evelyn, thank you. And now the second question is, were the Twin Towers deliberately demolished by explosive? Well, in my opinion, even if it was an explosion or the airplane crashes, I think that it was previously organized by the terrorists, and in even in the document and some theories said that Saddam Hussein were behind these attacks. So I think that it was not deliberate. I was really organized with previous with previous ideas and previous organizations. So that is my opinion. And now Yesenia.
Okay. There is evidence that the bombs were intentionally demolished by the use of explosives. There is testimony from reporters and bystanders who heard the explosives before collapsing. There are more than 100 testimonies from firefighters, police, and lifeguards who claimed to hear the explosions. There are also videos where they are heard, where those appears on the sides of the doors during the collapse that are the results of explosions.
Okay, thank you, Yesenia. Now Nestor.
Okay. Well, there are many theories that sustain that it was, let's say, an action taken by the government, that it was on purpose. If you see some videos, you can see that on each floor, when the building is falling down, you can see, how do you say that? The sparkles, the debris going out from the building. that points out to that there were some explosive inside on each floor, and that caused the falling down of the building. So I think I agree with Melissa and Yesenia. You have like the same opinion, and I do as well. That's it.
Yes. Yes, thank you, Nestor. And now, Wendy?
Okay. I say yes. I really believe that the impacts of the airplanes against the structures and the fire caused by it um, are not enough for the twin towers have fallen in that way. In addition, the found evidence of explosives called nanothermies in ducts simply.
Okay, thank you, Wendy. And finally, Evelyn?
On September 11, many thought at first that the attack on the Twin Towers was an accident. These were hit by a plane, fracturing the internal structure of the towers. The ground began spin to the side and press the facade. The beams began to bend, and the steel lost its resistance capacity, and the towers collapsed. The collapse was like a house of cards.
Okay, thank you very much, Evelyn. And now the third question is, were some people forewarned about the attacks? And I think that yes. On the documentary, I saw that many agents, investigators of the FBI have proof uh, about the intention of attacks with previous organization, but was intentionally withheld by the same government. So yes, I think that it was forewarned, but I don't know why, or maybe there was a second opinion or second intention about the government to not taking to taking that in light about all the evidence that have those persons that investigate about it. Okay, now Yesenia, it's your turn.
Yes, Melissa, yes. I think that yes, there were many warrants for Foreign Secret Service, and attached scene a hacked plane was meant that no one in the Reichstag wall have ever turned off. The number of warnings had been very hard and insistent that they could have permanently doubling or tripling the advanced combat aircraft.
Yes, thank you, Yesenia. And now Nestor.
Yes, I agree with you. I think they were aware of the attack. So some arguments and hypothesis says that the reason why they did not stop them from doing it is because they wanted to declare a war to Iraq so that they can take the resources, the petroleum resources they have,
Oil, yes.
um, so that way they can, increase their revenue and all of that.
Yes, 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 you're right. Well, now, Wendy. Wendy.
Okay, as there are so many opinions about this question, and after watching the video, the documental, and reading a bit investigation, a bit my answer, is the opposite. And my opinion is yes. Um, and no, because the terrorists were traveling as passengers of flight 11 and 175.
Oh, interesting. Okay, now, Evelyn.
I think no person words about the attack since didn't even cross the mind of the American that something like um, this could happen. They were all acting on the fly. The aircraft manager made random decision, thinking of the best for the Americans, since they have a plan of the what to do in this case on the antecedents to follow. For this reason, all those planes that were in the air were ordered to stop, and the planes which were following the same um, pattern as the first two, the house crash were intersected.
Okay, thank you, Evelyn. And now the fourth question is, was the Pentagon really hit by an airplane? Well, I'm not sure that it is true or it is false because there are so many theories about it. Also, one theory was that it was really strange about because the capacity and the size of the airplane was really big in compare of the holes and the impact about of the Pentagon. So maybe it was true or not. We don't know that, but one of the theory was that the comparison about the size of the Pentagon and the size of the airplane and the impact. Okay, now Yesenia.
Okay, Melissa. The plane that had the Pentagon did not simple launch, turned around in a large circle and ended up approaching and hitting the Pentagon of the side plane very close to the ground. But it seemed to be some in the hands racks of the military who sadly that they all rank in the Pentagon and not their roads were going to the nets.
Thank you, Yesenia. Now, Nestor.
Yes, well, I think that it was hit. In fact, I was doing some research, some recent research about the topic. According to the evidence published by the FBI, there were some debris of the plane inside the Pentagon, and also they say that 184 people were killed. Uh, reason, I mean, in consequence of the crash of the plane inside the Pentagon. So, well, I don't know what to think really. I will say yes, but it's not something that we can have clear, like to, let's say, conclude something because there's no enough evidence to take a decision on here.
Yes, you are right, Nestor. Now, Wendy.
Okay, my answer is very short. I say yes. American Airlines Flight 77 was the third hijacked flight.
Okay, thank you. And finally, Evelyn.
I think that the government didn't not plan the attack on the twin towers, since that was very damaging to citizens. Many people died and were afraid these acts were premeditated. They were terrorists who didn't have a good Eastern, who didn't have a good Eastern for the American. Their attack had been suspected for some time.
Okay, thank you, Evelyn. Now the next question is, could the attacks have been prevented? Absolutely yes, with previous organization and with a really deep investigation, also letting the people that investigate into account all those evidence. Also with that, the U.S. government or the people that were involved could stop, could prevent that attack, and also and also those a lot of people could not die about with that attack. So I think that yes, with the previous evidence of those of the people that were intentionally withheld, uh, the attacks would be prevented. Now, Yesenia.
Sure, sure. Because even if they did not know when or where the attacks will happen, they had several warnings that if they had paid attention, they will have avoided it. However, they only left 4 jets in the sector that were more likely to attack. Um, Everhard also informed of the attacks that was in progress. Sure.
Yes, yes. Now, Nestor.
Okay, yeah, yeah, it's a big yes. But you need to take into account that this all start from a starting point, right? The main control that could have prevented this attack was the airport, not only the one that flowed from Europe to USA, but also the one from USA. Well, I don't know. I don't have any idea on how these guys entered the United States. It could have been through a ship, or well, there are so many ways to get into United States, but I think that's the main point on here, and that's where the control should be focused on.
Yes. Now, Wendy.
Okay, all is true, and in my opinion, true is yes. If the United States National Security Agency had not ignored the surveillance for the system.
Okay, thank you, Wendy. And now, Evelyn. Evelyn.
I think that the attack could be avoided if agents like the CIA and the FBI had good communication since both had important information. Whoever they use the law as an excuse not to share information. The CIA agents know that the terrorists were the country, but they didn't control their movement because that was the agents didn't even know that they were in the country. They went unnoticed for 1 year. Mm, the system made it impossible to combat it effectively.
Okay, thank you, Evelyn. Now, the other question is: was Osama bin Laden really captured and killed? When I when I read this question, I was, oh my God, he's still alive. I don't think so, because in my memories, I saw a lot of news about Osama bin Laden was captured and being killed, and was a really international and huge news. So I think that, in my opinion, I think that it was yes, because also it was that capture and that kill was document in a documentary or and in a movie that was in the Oscar or something like that. So with those evidence, for me it's a yes, but now with those conspiracy theories and the documentary, and I thought that I think that maybe he's still alive or in a cave or in a jail there in the United States. But with those news and those documentaries and movies and etc. For me, it's a yes, but no, I don't know what to think. Okay, now, Yesenia.
Yes, the Solis were led by Pakistan's peace, the Osama bin Laden room, where they meet the terrorists who was crouching they to flee and shot him dead. Then start his magazine into the bird to the point that the body disintegrated.
Okay, thank you, Yesenia. Now, Nestor.
Well, I think it is a yes. Although there are some theories that says that he's not, you might make a relationship other let's say famous people that are also being said that they are alive, but in fact they are not. So I think it happens the same with Osama. In fact, I saw one picture post in the Washington Post a long time ago where he was dead actually. So I think he's dead as well. Why will they keep him alive? What will
Yes.
be the purpose of having a terrorist in such a level? Uh, to be alive. I don't see I don't see any sense of it. So that's my opinion.
There is not like a reward to keeping him alive. Maybe torture him, something like that. But it is really, really crazy, that idea. Thanks, Nestor. Okay, now, Wendy.
Okay, I did hear about that topic, but when I was a little, I hardly don't understand. But now that I see news and videos, in actuality, I saw yes. He was killed in Pakistan in a confrontation with the U.S. military of United States.
Okay, thank you, Wendy. And Evelyn.
Uh, Osama bin Laden's death was announced May 2 when elite unit of the United States Air Force shot down Osama bin Laden in the course of the shooting shooting in Pakistan. The small special operation group has killed bin Laden. The mission was called Operation Neptune Spear.
Yes, that's right. Okay, now the final question is, was the 9/11 caused by American government on purpose? Well, I'm not sure if it was on purpose, but the terrorists may hope to set off like a cycle of terror between the United States and between the Islamic world, also with economical purposes, as Nestor said in a previous questions about the petrol and the oil. So I think. It was like 50-50 because they're all wars. I think all wars have an purpose and a second intention and something like that. So yes, now Yesenia.
Okay, members of the government, actors suspicious, for example, President Cheney kid informated that the one leaflet plane was speeding towards Washington. The Secret Service knew the incoming plane for the 30 minutes was following it on the radar and had the means to school it down, but they did not. For many, the governments deliberately allow the terrorists to carry out the attacks. Others point out that it was the United States government itself that orchestrate and perpetrate of the attacks. Finally, now none of the Islamic boys were able to find any of these planes. These goods did sometime including difficult that in the sky that neither the pilots went more than 30 years could do. The planes that hit their targets were not designed airplanes that left the airports because none of these drones appeared in the security cameras and they went at the planes outside the limits. According to the minister, there were A5 cameras in the Pentagon, but for some spy cameras, all the steps were cascaded by the FBI and called no be seen.
Okay, thank you, Yesenia. And Nestor?
I think it might be a possibility um, on this aspect because, as I was mentioning in previous questions, Iraq have a, let's say, sustainable way for petroleum. So maybe they knew about the attack, but did not stop it because they knew what will be the consequences of having this attack done. So I think it could be, but I don't think in such an evil on a government. So I will say the same as you, Melissa, 50-50.
Thank you, Nestor. Now, Wendy?
Okay, after watching of the documentary and reading some articles, I think no because it was an attack caused by the Al Qaeda networks to hacking commercial airplanes.
Thank you very much, Wendy. Now, Evelyn?
Evelyn, I don't listen.
Evelyn? I think you're mute. Okay.
I think that the government didn't plan the attack on the Twin Towers since that was very damaging to science. science. Many people died and were afraid these acts were premeditated, and the evidence point out that they were terrorists who died not have a good uh, Esther for the American, their attacks had been suspected for some time.
Okay, thank you, Evelyn. Well, we answered the 7th questions. I think that I don't know if you are agree, all of you are agreed that to think about the this night 1-1 attack was far far away from our country. So in my opinion, I only saw the news and read the papers, and I didn't know that there were so many theories about this. So it was a really interesting activity to watch the documentary and to discuss with you about if it is true, if it's not true, because in my opinion, I was totally agree with all the things that I saw in the news and in the and reading in the paper. So, well, thanks very much. I don't know if
Cool.
somebody have another things to
Um,
add.
of everything I investigate, I want to guide of opinion. Um, this event has left many questions that have not yet been resolved, and I think that much research can still be done regarding the truth of the attack. Um, there are many opinions, some research engineers and architects who have intervened, but still no conclusion has been reached.
Yes, it's true. And it will continue to have so many questions without answers or so many answers. And we are not going to be true if what is true and what is false. Well, thanks very much. I think that it is all about these 7 questions. So thank you very much and see you next time. Bye.
Much.
Bye now.
Bye.
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 Thank you.
Thanks.